Have you ever noticed that strange moment when checking your bank account stops being stressful? Instead of opening your banking app with a knot in your stomach, you glance at the balance and actually feel calm. You're no longer wondering if buying groceries means cutting back somewhere else. A small, unexpected expense doesn't instantly ruin your entire month. Most people believe that feeling only comes after becoming rich. They think it happens once you earn six figures, inherit a fortune, or finally become a millionaire. But that's not how it works. The biggest shift in your financial life doesn't happen because you become wealthy overnight. It happens much earlier than most people realize. There's one financial milestone that quietly changes the way you think, make decisions, and even see your future. And surprisingly, it's not $1 million. It's around $20,000 in savings and investments. Now, before you dismiss that number as random, hear me out. I'm not saying $20,000 makes you rich. What I'm saying is that reaching this point often changes the game in ways that have very little to do with the money itself. It changes your mindset, your confidence, and the choices you make every single day. If you're someone who wants to understand the psychology behind building wealth, not just another list of budgeting hacks, then you're in the right place. Because today, we're exploring why this milestone matters so much and how it can completely reshape your financial future. Here's something most people never talk about. Building wealth isn't a smooth, straight line. It's more like climbing a staircase. For a long time, it feels like you're putting in effort without seeing much progress. Then suddenly, you step onto a new level where things begin working differently. Think about trying to push a heavy shopping cart with stuck wheels. The first few feet are exhausting. You lean into it. You question whether it's even worth the effort. But once the wheels start rolling, keeping it moving becomes much easier. Money behaves in a surprisingly similar way. In the beginning, every dollar saved feels painfully slow. You sacrifice nights out. You skip unnecessary purchases. You wonder if your efforts even matter. But once your savings reach a certain size, your money slowly begins helping you instead of relying entirely on your paycheck. That's the first invisible financial threshold, and most people don't even realize it exists. But here's where things become even more fascinating. The real transformation isn't happening inside your investment account. It's happening inside your brain. When you have almost no financial cushion, your mind naturally focuses on survival. Every bill feels urgent. Every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. Every career decision is influenced by one simple question: can I afford for this to go wrong? That constant pressure doesn't just affect your wallet. It affects your confidence, your creativity, and your ability to think long-term. And once you understand why your brain works this way, you'll also understand why crossing this financial milestone changes far more than your bank balance. Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary. They live in the same city, work similar jobs, and pay roughly the same monthly bills. On paper, their financial lives look almost identical. But there's one important difference. The first person has only a few $100s left after paying expenses. The second person has around $20,000 quietly sitting in savings and investments. Who do you think sleeps better at night? The answer isn't surprising, but the reason behind it is. The second person isn't necessarily happier because they're richer. They're calmer because their brain is no longer trapped in survival mode. When money is constantly tight, your brain becomes obsessed with protecting today's problems instead of building tomorrow's opportunities. A surprise medical bill, a broken phone, car repairs, an unexpected rent increase, each one feels like an emergency. Your mind becomes a full-time firefighter putting out one financial fire after another. When you're operating like this, it's incredibly difficult to think about investing, career growth, or long-term wealth. Not because you don't want to, but because your brain is focused on staying safe first. It's similar to trying to plan a vacation while your house is filling with smoke. Until the immediate danger disappears, everything else feels unimportant. That's why many people struggle to build wealth. It isn't always a lack of knowledge. Sometimes it's a lack of breathing room. Research has shown that even relatively small emergency savings can dramatically improve financial well-being. Why? Because every dollar saved reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is one of the biggest sources of financial stress. As your emergency fund grows from a few $1,000s towards several months of living expenses, something remarkable happens. Your internal questions begin to change. Instead of asking, "How am I going to make it until payday?" you begin asking, "How can I make my money grow?" That's an entirely different conversation, and different questions lead to different decisions. Instead of reacting to every financial problem, you begin planning ahead. Instead of choosing the safest option out of fear, you start evaluating opportunities with confidence. That mental shift is often worth more than the investment returns themselves. Because confidence compounds just like money does. Then the math quietly starts helping you. Let's say you consistently invest $1,000 every month. Reaching your first $20,000 may feel painfully slow. It takes discipline, patience, and plenty of moments where it feels like nothing is happening. But something is happening. Your investments are beginning to earn returns alongside your monthly contributions. Now you're no longer working alone. Your money has joined the team. That means your next $20,000 often arrives faster than the first, and the one after that usually comes even sooner. Not because you're suddenly working harder, but because your money has started doing part of the work for you. This is the point where compound growth stops being an abstract financial concept and starts becoming something you can actually see in your own account. Most people assume wealthy investors have access to secret strategies, exclusive funds, private investments, special opportunities. While those things exist, they aren't what creates this early momentum. The real advantage is much simpler. They've simply reached the stage where every dollar they already own begins creating additional dollars. And once you experience that for the first time, you'll never look at saving the same way again. But here's the surprising part. Earning investment returns isn't actually the greatest reward of reaching $20,000. In the next part, we'll explore why the habits and identity you build while saving that first $20,000 become far more valuable than the money itself, and why they continue paying dividends for the rest of your life. Because the biggest benefit of your first $20,000 isn't the money itself. It's the freedom it quietly creates. In the next part, we'll uncover the surprising psychological switch that happens once survival mode finally begins to disappear, and why it changes almost every financial decision you make. Here's something most people misunderstand about saving money. They think the reward is the balance sitting in the account. But in reality, the money is only half the achievement. The other half is the person you have to become to earn it. Think about what it actually takes to save your first $20,000. Unless you receive a large inheritance or an unexpected windfall, that money usually comes from hundreds of small decisions made consistently over time. Choosing to save instead of spending, walking away from impulse purchases, sticking to a plan even when nobody else notices, resisting lifestyle inflation after getting a raise. Month after month, you're training something far more valuable than your bank account. You're training your behavior, and behavior is what builds wealth. Anyone can save money for a week. Some people can even do it for a month, but building a meaningful financial cushion requires discipline that lasts for years. That consistency slowly changes the way you see yourself. Instead of thinking, "I'm someone who's bad with money," you begin thinking, "I'm someone who follows through." That identity shift is incredibly powerful because your actions naturally begin matching the person you believe you are. There's another psychological change that quietly happens once you've built a solid financial foundation. You stop seeing every surprise as a disaster. Imagine your car suddenly needs a major repair. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, that repair can feel overwhelming. It may mean borrowing money, using a credit card, or falling behind on other bills. The financial problem quickly becomes emotional stress. Now imagine facing that exact same repair with several months of expenses already saved. It's still inconvenient. Nobody enjoys unexpected bills, but it no longer threatens your financial stability. The event hasn't changed, only your level of preparation has, and that changes everything. The same pattern shows up everywhere. A broken laptop, a medical expense, an increase in rent. Without savings, each one feels like an emergency. With a healthy financial cushion, they're simply problems that can be solved. That's one of the biggest differences between surviving and building wealth. Money doesn't eliminate problems. It reduces panic. What's even more interesting is what happens after the fear begins to disappear. You start noticing opportunities that were always around you. Maybe a friend is launching a small business and needs investors. Perhaps a professional certification could help you earn significantly more over the next few years. Maybe there's a networking event, conference, or course that could open new career doors. When money is tight, these opportunities often feel impossible. You don't evaluate whether they're worthwhile. You automatically assume you can't afford them. But once you have financial breathing room, your thinking changes. Instead of asking, "Can I pay for this?" you begin asking, "Will this create value in the future?" That's a completely different mindset. And it's often the beginning of long-term wealth, because wealth isn't built only by cutting expenses. It's also built by recognizing valuable opportunities and having the ability to act on them. Another subtle change begins to happen. You stop obsessing over tiny financial decisions. Many people spend enormous mental energy debating whether to save a few dollars on coffee, groceries, or gas. Those choices matter, but not nearly as much as people think. As your financial confidence grows, your attention naturally shifts toward decisions with much bigger consequences. Your housing costs, your career growth, how much you invest each month, the assets you choose to own. These are the decisions that can change your net worth by tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars over time. Successful wealth builders understand something most people overlook. Big financial wins usually come from making a handful of smart major decisions, not from endlessly stressing over every small purchase. But all of these psychological changes lead to one final transformation that most people never expect. In the last part, we'll explore how reaching this milestone completely changes your relationship with work, major purchases, and financial freedom, and why so many people accidentally destroy their progress right after reaching it. By the time you've built your first $20,000, something much bigger has changed than your account balance. You've bought yourself something that's impossible to see on a bank statement: options. And options are one of the most valuable assets anyone can own. Think about your job for a moment. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, every payday feels like a lifeline. You tolerate difficult managers. You accept unreasonable workloads. You hesitate to negotiate your salary because you're afraid of losing the only income keeping you afloat. It's not that you lack confidence. It's that you can't afford to take risks. Your financial situation quietly controls your career decisions. But once you've built several months of financial security, the dynamic begins to change. You're no longer negotiating from desperation. You're negotiating from stability. You know that if things don't work out, you'll still be okay for a while. That confidence changes the way you speak, the way you negotiate, and the opportunities you're willing to pursue. Ironically, many people discover that they never even need to use their financial cushion. Just knowing it's there changes their mindset. They ask for promotions they previously avoided. They apply for better jobs. They start businesses they've been dreaming about. They become more confident because they're no longer making every decision from a place of fear. And confidence has a funny way of attracting new opportunities. As your career improves, your income grows. As your income grows, your investments grow faster. And as your investments grow, you gain even more freedom. It's a positive cycle that keeps building momentum over time. Unfortunately, this is also where many people make one of their biggest financial mistakes. They finally reach an important savings milestone and immediately spend it. Maybe it's a brand new luxury car, a dream vacation, or a house that's far more expensive than they actually need. After years of discipline, it feels like they've earned a reward. And they have. But using the money that created your financial security to buy something that immediately loses value often puts you right back where you started. Your first $20,000 isn't the finish line. It's the foundation. It's the seed that allows future wealth to grow. Protecting it is far more important than celebrating it. This also changes the way you look at expensive purchases. Instead of asking, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" you begin asking, "What is this purchase really costing my future?" A $30,000 car isn't just $30,000. It's the years of potential investment growth that money could have generated. That doesn't mean you should never enjoy life or buy nice things. It simply means every major purchase has an invisible price attached to it, the opportunities you give up by choosing it. Once you understand opportunity cost, spending becomes more